早晨，星期日嘅早上，大家好。Good morning. Welcome to Day 2 of the Social Enterprise Summit 2016. We have two distinguished speakers for today. And we also have a closing ceremony. And before the closing ceremony, we will have a policy dialogue with the chair of the organizing committee, Dr. Janie, and our beloved Undersecretary for Home Affairs, Florence Hui. They will talk about what they have been doing for the sector for the past decade. 10年時間咧，就其實係咪算過得好快啊？又好似好快，好似好耐咁啊！咁啊，今日咧我哋會有許曉輝副局長啦，同埋我哋籌委會嘅主席李靜怡博士咧，就會同我哋講下過去嗰10年佢哋嘅耕耘。咁去到呢個階段咧，就做個階段性總結。咁但係今日最開心咧，我哋有兩位咧，就係來自唔同時區嘅人啊。咁啊，同大家講下 B Corp。咁今年嘅社企民間高峰會咧，我有樣嘢幾開心嘅，就係多咗啲Continental Europe 啊，即係歐洲大陸嘅觀點。咁呢個過去我哋過去呢3屆係比較少啲呢方面嘅 speakers。咁今年我哋就都會有一位 speakers 就嚟到分享翻B-Lab Europe 嘅嘢。咁但係講 B-Lab Europe 之前咧，我哋就有寫咗 B Corp 手冊嘅作家。咁啊 B Corp 嘅運動咧，都的而且確喺呢近5年咧改變咗世界好多。咁咩叫 B Corp 咧？咁不如我而家請我哋嘅第一位演講嘉賓上台啦。Our first speaker today is the author of the B Corp Handbook, How to Use Business as a Force of Good, a partner from LIFT, LIFT Economy, Mr. Ryan Honeyman. Ryan, please.
Thank you. Hello. So thank you for having me here. My first question is, who among you has heard of B corporations? Okay, a lot of people in the front. They came close. Great. So first, I'm very glad to be back in Hong Kong. It's been 10 years. I used to be an English teacher in Hangzhou. I lived in China for 6 months. And so it's great to be back. There's just a few more tall buildings, so it's good to be back in Hong Kong. So B corporations. So the B Corp movement is all about harnessing the power of business to solve social and environmental problems, to use business as a force for good. And the reason that the B Corp movement exists is because nonprofits and government have tried for many years to solve social and environmental problems. And yet, as we all know, business creates the majority of wealth in the world, but it also can create the majority of problems if it is not used in a positive way. So with the B Corp movement, the goal is to incentivize businesses through a certification scheme and the legal protection to benefit all of their stakeholders, workers, community, the environment, customers, suppliers, in addition to their shareholders. So this is taking ideas like shared value or conscious capitalism or the New Capitalist Manifesto or just business or green or socially responsible and actually making it measurable and legally protected. So that's what I'll be talking about today. So this is a gentleman named J. Cohen Gilbert. He founded a basketball company in the United States called And One. If any of you have heard of And One, it was a very famous basketball company. It actually grew from 1991 to 2001. It was the second largest basketball company in the United States behind Nike. And as many companies know, when they grow, there starts to be a lot of pressure from investors to pay back the investors, either through selling your company to another company or going public. So what happened is Jay and his co-founders at And One, they were a different company in the sense that they had worker benefits like yoga classes, and they used to let their employees play basketball. They had dogs in the office. I don't know if any companies in Hong Kong let dogs in the office, but it's a fun office when there's dogs running around. They also used to donate percentage of profit to charity, and they would hold basketball tournaments in the areas in which they worked. So they gave a lot back to the community. In 2005, it was time to sell the company. So the problem in the United States, at least, it might not be as relevant for Hong Kong and China, is that when you're going to sell your company, the law states that you must sell your company to the highest bidder. You don't have a choice as to whether to sell your company to someone who's more aligned with your mission and vision and values. And so they had a few different bidders, but they had to sell to the highest bidding company. Within 6 weeks of selling the company, the new owners had taken away all of the social and environmental benefits that they had put into place over the last 15 years. So they felt good, and they made a lot of money from selling the company. They were thinking, great for us. But they felt horrible for their employees and all their suppliers and people that had not benefited from this. So they said, what are we going to do next to make sure that this never happens again? And so they talked to social entrepreneurs, they talked to academics, they talked to lawyers, they talked to impact investors and said, what do you need? What do you need in order to make sure that we can accelerate this next economy or social businesses? And so they thought, well, maybe we could start another company, a socially responsible company that was very responsible. But then they thought, well, there's already a lot of companies who do this, so what's one more going to really change the entire economy? So they said, okay, we won't do a company. Second, they thought, well, maybe we should start a fund, an impact investing fund, to invest in companies that are doing this. Maybe we could help out. But in the US and many places of the world, there's already impact investing funds. So again, what's one more? So finally, after talking to over 200 people about what they should do, they realized that the world really needed two things in order to accelerate the future, the sort of next economy, the new business, socially responsible business paradigm. One, people said they wanted a framework to measure the performance of an entire company, so that there already are certification schemes such as organic or fair trade, or there's green building certifications, which are great. The challenge with those is that if you have an energy efficient building and you have a certification for that, it doesn't tell you if the employees who work for the company are treated well. It doesn't tell you if that company is taking whatever they make and dumping it in the river behind their company. So it just tells you about the building. So B-Lab, the first thing that companies, these entrepreneurs and social impact investors said they wanted was a way to differentiate between good companies and companies who have good marketing. Because we all know companies who have good marketing, they say plastic water bottles are green because they use less plastic, but it's still just throwing away a water bottle. So there's other ways, there's ways to look at sustainability that doesn't involve the marketing department. So that's the first thing. They created a certified B Corporation. Second thing, and this is most relevant to the US and countries where we have a fiduciary duty to maximize shareholder value, or in other words, make as much money as possible for the people who own the business. They decided that they needed a new legal structure that would allow an entrepreneur to start a business, take on investment capital, and maybe even sell the business, but have their social and environmental mission, their original values, live beyond them being the CEO or the owner. And so this is critical because, as many of you know, the financial crisis in 2008 was largely about people trying to make as much money as possible. And what B Corp stands for, and what I like about it, is it's not shaming business. It's not saying, you bad business people. It's saying the people are good people. They're operating in a system that highly incentivizes short-term behavior and making as much money as possible, which leads to negative outcomes. So in order to change the outcomes, you have to address the systemic issue, which is maximizing short-term shareholder value. So that was a key part of this, is both the legal protection and the certification. So 3 reasons why I love B corporations. So I'm back home in the States. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I help companies certify as B corporations and think about social and environmental responsibility. Previous to B corporations, you can talk to a business owner and say, hey, you should be socially responsible. You should be green. You should be shared value. They might say, great, let's do it. What do we do? And then you would say, I don't know, because there's not really a way to measure it yet. So what B Corporation provided was a standardized way to assess any company, regardless of industry, on their performance across workers, community, environment, governance, customers, so the whole company. So this is very powerful for a business owner because we often want to do better, we just don't know what to do. And so with this process, it makes it easy for busy business people to just insert some information onto an online assessment that's free. And at the end of inserting information, it gives you back a score. Business people also like numbers, so they like a score. Wow, here's my score. Hey, my friend has a higher score. I don't like that. Let's get a higher score. But the difference with this is that you're competing not to be the best in the world, you're competing to be the best for the world. That's an important distinction. So you're competing to be socially and environmentally beneficial to your stakeholders. That's one reason I'm excited about B Corps. So for example, you probably can't read this, it's a little far away, but things that are measured on the assessment are your governance, so your mission. Workers would be compensation and benefits. Do you have worker ownership? You know, one example would be, if you're a social enterprise, I met gentleman Alex from iEnterprise, very cool company, helps disabled individuals do call center, work for a call center. They work with Hong Kong Broadband. So if Alex had his company, I think it's about 30 people. They're a social enterprise. If the exact same company also existed in Hong Kong, but the people who worked for Alex were also owners, co-owners of the company, the B impact assessment would give that company a higher score. And so without that, so Alex might look across Hong Kong and say, hey, I'm doing the same thing, but they have a higher score on the B impact assessment. I want a higher score, so how can I also, so he might have his employees be owners, and he also might put solar panels on the roof, so then he's a higher score than this company. And then this company might say, well, I want to be better than him, so I want to also give my employees 5 weeks paid vacation. And so, again, you're competing to be better for people, not just what's my bottom line, what's my short-term value. The last thing I'll say about this is that a critical part of the B impact assessment that's very valuable is that it also measures the purpose or the actual business that you do. What this means is, I might have a good example would be an office supply company in the United States. It's a very big one called Office Depot. Many of you may have heard of it. They have energy-efficient light bulbs, they compost, they recycle, they sell recycled paper in their office supply company. There's another office supply company that has the same thing, but they give back 50% of their revenues to charity, and they hire people who have just been released from prison to train them so they don't go back to prison. And so the B impact assessment captures not just the incidental or sort of tertiary or secondary things that you do, like energy efficient light bulbs. It also tracks how you operate your business, like how are you actually benefiting. So it's great to have these things like energy efficiency and compost and recycling, but also what are you doing day to day? So that's captured. Okay, second thing is I love the community. Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, some of you have heard of Kickstarter, Etsy, The Honest Company. A lot of these are very cool young companies. Some are older, where it's very exciting for me to look to this community as brands that I want to aspire to create my business like. So the community itself has very interesting companies that millennials want to work for and that is appealing as a community. The third is the recognition. So this isn't just 10, 20, 30, 100 companies who are small and no one cares about them and they're very green, hippies. This is business people. So The Economist, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Times, The Atlantic, The Washington Post, all of the major newspapers, and many newspapers in Europe, Marcello will be after me, have spoken about how B corporations are a powerful movement that transcend just smaller companies that don't really have a big difference. So this is about a global movement. An example of this would be Biz Stone is one of the co-founders of Twitter. So many of you know Twitter. He told me in an interview, I interviewed him last year about Twitter, and he likes social responsibility. But he said, I wish there was a B Corp, I wish Twitter was a B Corp when we first started. Because now, as a publicly traded company, there's all this pressure to constantly be maximizing shareholder value. And it's very hard for me, as a CEO, to think about other things when our shareholders are calling and Wall Street is constantly breathing down my neck to make as much money as possible. So he said, if this existed, I would really love to be a B Corp now. Another example is Bill Clinton. He's a big fan of B corporations. He thinks that this is a great way to embed your values in your company for the long term. So hopefully we'll have him in the White House and not the other one. So the two needs, I'll quickly talk about these, and then I'll have Marcello come up here. So the standards and the legal, the two pieces to the B Corp. So as I mentioned, the last 20 years have been about things like fair trade, organic, Rainforest Alliance certified, small certifications for different pieces of a business. In the next 20 years, consumers, all of you, want to know that you can trust the whole company behind that brand, not just that they have one product that's socially responsible. You want to know, what is the whole company doing? So B Corp provides that. In the United States, 31 states, including Delaware, which for some reason, a very small state in the East Coast of the United States, Delaware, 67% of all the major Fortune 500 companies are incorporated there. I don't know why. Maybe good tax law or something. But they passed the Benefit Corp law. So now, any company in these 31 states can actually either start a business and become a benefit corporation, which gives you that legal protection, or if you're an existing company, you can make the switch from your standard corporation or your LLC. So KK, who was very kind to invite me to Hong Kong, asked me to address a few frequently asked questions. One is, why are B Corps so popular? So things like shared value and conscious capitalism and business for good are emerging in Hong Kong and in a lot of places in the world and in China. I think one reason that B Corps in particular have been getting a lot of traction is that it's measurable, because as business people, we like measurable things. Just tell me what to do. We all know that there's a famous phrase, what gets measured gets accomplished. So if you want to get something accomplished, measure it. So B Corp provides a measurement framework for any business to measure their social and environmental performance. It's also led by entrepreneurs. This is not an NGO saying, you business people, you've done so bad for the environment, you should be better, you should do this. This is business people saying, we want this for our business because we want to differentiate ourselves from people who just talk about this and who are not authentic. So being led by business people is much different than some of the other movements. How do other movements differ? I just kind of said that. It's measurable, it's led by business people. We'll have some Q&A up here with KK and Marcello, so if there are other questions on that, we'll have time. I also mentioned there's the B Corp and the Benefit Corp. So B Corp is the certification where any of you in Hong Kong and China, anywhere in the world, can already become a certified B Corporation. So all you need to do is go online. I'll have the link up here in a minute. It's bimpactassessment.net, and you can start inputting information. It's in Chinese, and you can see how your company performs. You actually don't even have to be a B Corporation. You can just take the assessment and improve your performance. And the Benefit Corp is for countries, maybe in Hong Kong, maybe in China, but at least initially for the United States, where we are forced to always maximize profit. So that's one key reason why you have to have both. B Corp outside the US, B Corp started in Philadelphia. Now there's 50 countries. The largest telecom provider in Afghanistan, Roshan, is a B Corporation. They do something, so you don't have to be a marketing company or you don't have to grow organic apples to be a B Corp. I helped certify the first funeral home B Corp in the world. It's in San Francisco. I also helped certify the first auto repair garage. They just repair cars. But they also do a lot of great things for the environment, and they have good treatment for their employees, and they donate some of their time and energy to the local community. So they get a lot of benefits that you wouldn't otherwise get as just a car repair garage. People look to them. So B Corp is a global movement of social entrepreneurs. It's not just related to the US. So the benefits, this is my 9th talk on B Corps in 4 days, thanks to KK. He's very good at scheduling me. So people say to me, why? Why should I do this? How much money will it make me? That's the first question usually. My question back, I've decided, is instead of just listing benefits, to ask that person, what are your top 2 to 3 challenges? So many businesses have the same challenges. One would be, I'm having a hard time hiring and retaining the best people. We're a growing company and we want to get the best people, but it's hard to find them. How do I do that? Second might be, how do I differentiate my company from my competitors? How do I stand out? Third might be, how do I just do better? I want to do better, but I don't know what to do. I have a hard time because there's so many things, operations, running a business, HR. It's just hard to think. So I just want to be better, but I don't know what to do. So B Corp can help you with all of those. Attracting and retaining the best people. Young people want to work for companies with a purpose. If you're at this conference and you don't already know that, why are you at this conference? I'm just kidding. So young people want to work they'll actually take less pay if it has a purpose. So that's one reason. You can also retain your best people. Second, marketing. It differentiates yourself. If you are a company facing Western Europe or the United States or North America, there's hundreds of B corporations that are looking to China, to Hong Kong for partners. And a great way to signal to those Western partners is that we're different than the 500 other people who are also requesting your business. So it's a great benefit. And as it becomes more well-known here in Asia, it will also be beneficial within countries. The last thing is, how does it make me better? You can just improve. You just learn how to improve. Business people want to learn how to improve. This is a great way to do that. The last 2 or 3 slides here. Why only 1,850 B Corps? So there's only 1,850 B Corps in the world. Why? It's It's been around for almost 10 years. So these are very rigorous social and environmental performance standards. This isn't something that you can tick 5 boxes and call yourself a B Corp. A lot of it is some big changes. So while that limits the growth, it also increases the credibility. Not anyone can be a B Corp. You really have to want it, and you have to put in time and energy. So that's one reason. The other reason is, at least in the United States, you have to legally change your corporate bylaws to be a benefit corporation, which some companies don't want to do. For other companies, they've been like, hey, we're a B corporation. We've done this forever. Why would that matter? And the final thing I'll say on this is B-Lab knows they're not going to change the world with 50,000 B corporations. They're going to change the world when any company just starts measuring and improving their performance. So there's the B impact assessment, which I'll list here, has 50,000 people who have taken the assessment. So it's not just only for certified B corporations. So I only have a minute left, so I'll just quickly say there's loan forgiveness in Stanford, Yale, Columbia, and NYU. If you graduate with an MBA and you work for a B corporation, those schools will reduce your loan payments. So it incentivizes the best students to work for B corporations. Will B Corps be embraced in China? That's a discussion we'll have. Here's the B Impact Assessment website, bimpactassessment.net. I encourage any of you to do it. And here's my contact information if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. Please be seated.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll be interested to see how B Corp would flourish in this part of the world. We have a very interesting academic discussion yesterday, right? From distinguished scholars led by Katie and Jane from Japan, Korea, mainland China, and Taiwan as well. Today we move to a different time zone. First we listen to what the North American time zone to discuss about the B Corp movement. Next, our speaker is a leader, an entrepreneur, but not only an entrepreneur, but also a philanthropreneur. It's an interesting word, but it has been very popular in Europe. Leader and pioneer of the B Corp movement, co-founder of B-Lab, Marcello Palazzi. Mr. Palazzi, please.
Thank you, good morning, and thanks for being so brave to come on a Sunday morning when many people are not in a conference room. So presentation here, thank you. And thanks so much, Ryan, for setting the scene. So I'm just going to add a few things. So first, as the moderator said, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a son of an entrepreneur. My great-grandfather was an entrepreneur in Italy, and I moved to Switzerland, the UK. And my business was in environmental diagnostics, so one of the first companies in Europe to make laboratories and testing equipment for water and soil. I did it for about 11 years. And then I started a foundation, Progressive Foundation from Rotterdam. And our mission, my partner, Dutch partner, and I, when we started the foundation, we were like 32 years old, was actually entrepreneurship is the biggest force in the world, but it has to actually have a wider aspiration. It has to be about the state of the world and humanity and our best dreams actually implemented through entrepreneurs. So about 25 years of work, 30 countries, about 300 ventures and projects, working with the UN, working with impact investors, sometimes with the EU, in trying to actually connect this world of entrepreneurs, the best entrepreneurs, with the world of organizations, institutions, our governments. And about 3 years ago, I was a fellow at Harvard. I met the founders of B Corps in New York, and then I decided with a friend of mine in Amsterdam to set up B-Lab Europe. So we've been going now for 2.5 years. We have about 300 B Corps in Europe. So I'm just going to go to my story here. First slide, the B Corp is a business movement to transform capitalism for good. So this goes back to my kind of passion, which is, again, entrepreneurship, amazing force to change, to transform, to innovate the world, but it has to be, at its best, accompanied by our own values as human beings and aspirations. So continue. So capitalism, as we know, to kind of give it a wider frame, is failing to meet the needs of many people, and it obviously has sustainability challenges. As we know, we're already using up 1.5 planets, and as the world goes to 9 billion, we've got to make changes to the system. So transforming capitalism is actually the most urgent question we face. And here, the B Corp movement, as Ryan was saying, is actually at the forefront of this evolution, this transformation. 2,000 B Corps plus 4,000 benefit corporations in the United States and Italy. Argentina is actually passing the legislation as we speak. Australia and Taiwan are also discussing this new legislation, and there is a good chance they'll pass it in the next few months. B Corps, my definition is better, bolder, best for the world businesses. 18, actually, as of this morning, 1,883 companies, 50 countries, and about 300 in wider Europe, including the UK. Some bigger names like Danone and Unilever, big fans of B Corps. Thousands more, as Ryan said, 50,000 companies actually gone online to learn how they can become better businesses. And multinationals, we now have a multinational task force with 15 companies, including Nike, Unilever, Danone, Ernst & Young, looking at how do we actually, and others, how do we actually apply these principles and this sort of philosophy of business to, in the case of Danone now, 130 countries, 80 companies in 130 countries. Paul Polman, CEO of Unilever, they own Ben & Jerry. They've just bought last week 7th Generation, which is also a B Corp. They are thinking of buying The Honest Company, also B Corp, very strong in China. So Paul Polman, as some of you know, is the CEO who about 5 years ago, he stood up and he said, if you don't like my shares, well, sell them. We are here for the long term. We're not here to make money for the quarter, but actually this is a long-term proposition. So B Corps are actually long-term thinking companies. This is an announcement we made in Paris in December last year with Danone, the CEO of Danone, Emmanuel Faber. They've decided that by 2020, the whole of Danone, $30 billion company, will become a B Corp. And now Danone Spain has passed the test. Danone Argentina is about to finish it. Nutricia in Germany, which is a Danone company, and then Turkey, Indonesia. So they are actually going to become a B Corp globally. Now, a little bit of link into what I heard yesterday from Professor Pestov and Mr. van Griethausen. How do we connect this force of B Corps with the wider kind of policy world, the UN world, the SDGs, the social enterprise movement? So here there's one thing that not many people actually realize. Martin Wolf in the Financial Times was the first person who said, we've never really connected the health of the economy with the health of businesses. Basically, the economy is nothing more than the aggregation of businesses. So what we see here with the SDGs and other objectives, we're never going to reach these objectives if they don't get internalized in each company. Otherwise, it's just a dream. We are kind of dreaming that it is possible. So what B Corps do actually have created is assessment, and the assessment is basically, for some of you, like, Pascal, if I may call you, you're an economist, you are work with the UN. When we talk about new measures of new indicators beyond GDP, they have to be connected with the work of businesses. So ultimately, we only get to a new measure of the economy if actually each company measures itself differently. So I think that this is what the B Corps provide, is a sort of an experiment with 2,000 companies of creating indicators that could actually be translated back to the wider economy. The partners of B-Lab, we have partners now in 6 continents. B-Lab themselves, South America, Australia, Europe, UK. In January, we are opening an office in Nairobi. We got €3 million funding from DFID in the UK to start launching the idea of B Corps in Africa. So all these partners, they have created a system where we don't only work with the B Corps, we work with academics, with civil society, with investors, with NGOs, of course, the civil society sector, to create a movement where society actually says, hey, we deserve to have the best companies. We don't want to have corrupt companies. We don't want to have companies that are screwing the environment. We want to have the best companies. So in Santiago, Chile, 10,000 people got together. They had a festival with music about, hey, here are the best companies in the world. So there is a popular movement, and B Corp is very active in this. In terms of our tools, we have lots of tools, analytics, KPIs, indicators that actually help these businesses become better businesses. So from the outside, you see, you do the big B Corp impact assessment, and you want to show the world what you're doing, but from the inside is a very valuable management tool, where actually every day, every month, you can learn, hey, I want to improve on these indicators. So many companies find that it actually becomes a very useful management tool. Global community, with Africa, we are, and Antarctica, not yet we don't yet have a B-Lab, but in 6 continents we do. Investing in B Corps, we got venture capitalists in Silicon Valley and funds, about 1,000 investment funds that actually use so-called B analytics, which is the same indicators for investors. So there's a lot of movement now from investors to actually choose these kind of companies, because mostly they have a lower risk profile and they show greater potential in the kind of sectors like clean tech, sustainable businesses, sustainable agriculture and architecture. So the sectors of the future, many of the B Corps actually create this next economy. Then this is a bit about too many words, I know, but what is important to say is that the business models are more inclusive, more innovative, more regenerative, and together, there's never really been a force like this, but 2,000 companies and growing. We are kind of planning the next 5 years to get to 5,000 companies, because most of the time we talk about these kind of issues outside the workplace. And this is the first time that there's actually a business movement where we actually want to internalize and really walk the talk about the kind of aspirations that we have as people. And then these are some of our kind of words we use: create a new economy, best for the world. And this is one of my icons, Steve Jobs, make a dent in the universe. So anyone who works in business, they just don't want to, slave away working. They want to create something bigger than themselves. And I think the B Corps actually have that kind of spirit of creating something bigger than themselves. So this is this last slide. What I want to say, a couple of things, what I learned yesterday by being in the sessions here. So when Professor Pestov and Mr. van Griethausen, you spoke yesterday, you opened the session, I kind of went back, so 25 years ago when I started Progressive Foundation, we wrote a book called The Civic Economy or Civic Enterprise, which is very close to social enterprise. And I think that what I've seen in the last 25 years is that if we can really engage the business world into this journey towards, in a way, we need to socialize business in such a way that it becomes part of the solution, not part of the problem. So social enterprise, as we call it, will actually be much enriched if we could actually get some of these companies to work with the social entrepreneurs. So this is what we're doing with Danone, with Unilever. Danone has actually something called Danone Communities. They already work with a lot of the social entrepreneurs. So we need to do a bit more of that. So I look forward to cooperating with you and the social entrepreneurs movement. I've been a big fan for many years, and I hope that this kind of Ryan and I have added this kind of work of some of these progressive companies can actually help what you're trying to do here this week. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Palazzi. I think it is a very interesting opening on a Sunday morning. Now we move from the North American time zone to the European time zone back to the Asian time zone, where everybody is ready for an interesting discussion with our 2 distinguished keynote speakers for the closing day of SES, led by the most energetic and passionate Dr. KK Zhe. KK will lead the 2 speakers to talk about the B Corp movement in Hong Kong. KK, please. And Mr. Palazzi and Mr. Honeyman, please. KK, maybe as host, please sit in the middle. Ryan and Mr. Palazzi, where would you like to sit?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I bring you some water, and then we can start.
Okay, we have only 10 minutes or so. Let me show you this book by Ryan Honeyman. Florence, I'm going to present this book to you after this session with Ryan's signature, of course. We have bought quite a number of this book, English and Chinese, and sold out. There are only 3 left. We have to buy more. And this time, I will order 200 copies. Now, you have heard Ryan from the US and Marcello from Europe. I'm going to use 2 minutes to fill you up with what is happening in Asia. Okay, the most encouraging thing is happening in Taiwan. Corey, you are here. Would you like to stand up? We may not have time for you to speak, but please show your face to everyone. Corey is the founder of Dormy, a certified B Corp, the first certified B Corp in Taiwan. But his aspiration is to build and sustain the B Corp movement in Asia. And currently, there are 15 certified B Corps in Taiwan, and the momentum is great. You will see Corey on more in the future, either in Hong Kong or in Taiwan. What is even more encouraging is the thing that I noticed happening in China. Even in China, mainland China, some organizations, some very influential organizations, foundations, are very serious about promoting B Corps in China. And for very, very good reasons. They recognize that Chinese economy has developed very rapidly in the last 30 years. We are one of the largest economic power in the world. But, well, even from Hong Kong, when we look at businesses in China, there are so many things that we may not be proud of. It's timely that the businesses in China transform themselves on the basis of the economic foundation to become better companies. But how to do it? How to do it? B Corp provides a framework and a global movement that businesses in China could join to become a force for good. In Hong Kong, we are only just starting to notice this phenomenon. I'm very happy that the Hong Kong Social Entrepreneurship Forum, which has been a force behind the social enterprise development in Hong Kong, last year, the forum decided from now on, our focus should be on promoting B Corps. Currently, there is only 1 B Corp in Hong Kong. But I would expect there will be at least 5 or 10 within a year. Okay, just one last thing. 2 organizations in China and 2 organizations in Hong Kong have agreed to convene a 1-day event at next year's Social Enterprise Summit. And between now and the next summit, there will be many other activities to promote B Corps. Okay, with the limited time left, I would like to ask Ryan and Marcello to share with us what they have observed in Hong Kong. How do you feel our people's interests, or do you compare to other countries that you have been to?
Yeah, it's been incredible. KK, as I mentioned, I have seen a wide variety of Hong Kong in 4 days. I've seen 9 different meetings with key stakeholders. So the government, foundations, entrepreneurs, students, it's incredible. And I think you need each of those stakeholders. You can't just have the students. We all love the students. They can't do it all. You can't just have the business owners without the students, because the students are the next thing. So I've been very impressed. I'm very optimistic about B Corps in Hong Kong.
And I think I have a microphone here. So I want to say one thing that I generally say is that if you imagine, look forward 5, 10 years, and think about the business. So if you think about business in 5 to 10 years from now, do you think they could be less sustainable, less inclusive, less dynamic, less respectful of gender, diversity? And you already have the answer. The answer is, of course, we can't expect businesses. If we want to have a healthy and safe and sustainable planet, we have to change. And here we have companies that have started changing. So what are we waiting for? Why wait? You know, the companies that actually take the leap now, they're going to have a first mover advantage and be first in actually doing this. So it's so simple. Of course, it's so simple if we accept the assumption that we have problems, and whether it's the planet, climate change, natural resources, inequalities, migration, all these issues, we have to use the power of business to address these issues. So it's very, very simple. Hong Kong, China, well, I was in Taiwan with Koi twice this year. We had some Chinese companies. It's very clear that many Western companies, or from South America, Canada, when they do business, they increasingly want to have companies that have high standards. So it's in the benefit of Chinese companies to actually show that they can live up to the global standards like the B Corps have. So it's really very simple. I think what is not simple is that, and what we often don't talk about it, is that it's about our own leadership. Basically, the companies we run are a reflection of who we are as leaders of people. So we have to change ourselves too. So that's the most difficult thing. How do we actually get on the path of becoming ourselves, people who would honor sustainability, justice, inclusion, much more than we do. So it is our journey too as human beings, and that is the most difficult one.
Okay, one other question about the role of government. Now we have the Deputy Secretary of the Home Affairs Bureau here. We know that the B Corp movement the impetus has to come from the business sector. But what role do you think government could play?
Well, I want to say, we have examples already. So the city of New York, the mayor of New York has agreed last year to do a pilot program for 20,000 companies, sharing the assessment, the B Corp assessment, to 20,000 companies. Very successful. Last week, from our colleagues in South America, I learned that the city of Rio de Janeiro is going to start 11,400 companies. So they have an outreach program. The mayor of Paris, Ana Hidalgo, is going to meet with me and others in 2 weeks' time in Paris to see if Paris could do the same thing. We see cities are interested. Denver is becoming like a B Corp city. So definitely the level of local government. Final point is, I am now a member of the UK Cabinet so-called mission-led business panel, which has been looking at, in the UK, there are 40,000 companies that have some sort of social, environmental, cultural criteria, and the UK government at the end of September is coming out with a policy document. So there is a beginning of cities and governments being interested in this, because at the end of the day, it is a win-win. It's in the interest of cities and government to have the best businesses. But why would you accept something less than the best? So it just takes leadership.
U.S. similar movement?
Yes. And from the government, so I can speak from the U.S. So we have liberals, Democrats, who like B Corps because they help workers, community, the environment. It's beneficial. You also have conservatives, Republicans, who like B corporations because they believe that business should be the answer to most things. So you have conservatives don't like to fund nonprofits, they want the government smaller. So I would say to anyone, this is a very rare issue where you have political, ideological agreement on an issue. There's probably, you can count on one hand how many issues the American Congress agrees on. But this is a key one. They really like empowering business to solve social and environmental problems.
I think you mentioned some examples of cities giving preference to B Corps in the procurement.
So San Francisco has $1 billion in contracting that it puts out every year to local businesses. They have given B corporations and benefit corporations a preference whenever they bid for city contracts. So it's encouraging the city to act in alignment with its own values. And so that's one example. Philadelphia has a tax credit for certified B corporations. Even federal, the B Corp movement folks have been in contact with the White House about federal benefits. And so it's been an increasing conversation with government who believes that this should be the answer anyway.
Okay, finally, 一帶一路啊。One Belt, One Road. Interestingly, this idea in Hong Kong, everyone talking about it, but these two gentlemen may not be aware of this concept. My thinking is like this. 一帶一路, the countries along the Belt and Road, in the next 20, 30 years, there will be a lot of Hong Kong and Chinese companies going there. Imagine if these companies going there are B Corps. What kind of impact that they will bring to these countries? Currently, the discussion is primarily focused on 商機, opportunity to make money in those spaces. But if these companies who are going over there to do business are certified B Corps, the impact will be even much bigger. Okay, time is running out. Yes. We don't know. It will be a long journey. And we have now discussion with a number of organizations inside China. From Hong Kong, we could do a lot to promote, to support the development of B Corps in China. But before we do that, let's start the movement here in Hong Kong first. What we are thinking is to identify 5 to 10 companies in Hong Kong that if they become B Corps, the entire business community would be inspired by the movement. So this is something that I would like all of you to contribute.
Your good self and Jane introduced me to the idea of, that changed my life, that's called solution-based journalism. So as a solution-based journalist, can I change this question a little bit? Can I add one word in front? How will B Corp be embraced in China? Can our two speakers just elaborate on that? How will B Corp be embraced in China? Or even if I change the last word, how will B Corps be embraced in Asia? We would love to know. I mean, you have been here for 2 days. You have talked to a lot of people. People just love to communicate with you. How do you think B Corp will be embraced in Asia, or in China at least?
Can we have 1 minute on this? So I tell you this, I share the experience of South America. So South America, now there are 10 countries where there are B Corps, and there is a B-Lab organization in each. The way they went about it, they started about 4 years ago, and they went about it through the systemic approach. So they decided, I mentioned it briefly earlier, that the only way we can change and help business transform is by having the whole society in support of this movement. So civil society, academics, investors, NGOs. And this was very successful because now you have a support system. And I think in Asia and in China, this could be the same thing. So investors, civil society, citizens, actually saying, hey, there is a better way. Business must be part of the solution. And actually actively working in a collaborative spirit with these companies to make a change. Like yesterday morning here, this gentleman, Francis said it. Francis said, we cannot keep complaining that our governments are not doing the job. We have to start doing something. So that is the kind of spirit that I think we should embrace in Asia. Just start by ourselves, wherever we are, citizens, NGOs, investors, to actually work collaboratively with business and make a difference. I think this would be my strategy.
Great point. I somehow facilitated a session with a Brazilian researcher on policy framework change, and they touch on B Corps too. And he made it very clear that all countries should distinguish between state policy and government policy, meaning government may change because of political regime change, election change, good luck with the US, But state policy is transcend beyond political parties. So I think if we can make a state policy that the whole world should move and look closely to B Corps, then I think we will have a real movement. What do you think, Ryan? What do you think?
Yeah, I would just say it's probably the carrot and the stick. So Unilever, Campbell Soup is a 120-year-old company. There's no more innovation you can do with canned food. So they're saying, how do we make ourselves relevant for the next 100 years? So they're using B Corp, and Plum Organics is one of the companies, they make organic baby food. These are very high growth markets, and people want this. So if I were looking from Hong Kong or from China, it would be, what are even the very established old companies who you would never look to for innovation? Even they are starting to say, hey, something's coming, so we better shift our supply chain, we better shift our business practices to meet this new demand for more socially and environmentally responsible products. And you can use the B Corp to do that. That's the difference now. You might have noticed that in the past, but you didn't know what to do. This actually gives you a step-by-step framework to do it. And the stick would be, if you wait 5 years to see what happens, it might be that your competitors have already done this, or that Unilever has said they want to require a lot of their suppliers to be B Corps. So it's the incentive portion. You have probably a year, 1 to 3 years for the early adopters. 3 years and 5 years and 10 years, it's like scrambling to go back and do it. So I would say, try and be an early adopter, because this is clearly where the market is heading.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marcello Palazzi and Mr. Ryan Honeyman. And thank you, KK, for the facilitation. Thank you. Can I have a group photo together with you?
Sure, thank
gentlemen
you.
Standing up.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Sure.
Yes, here.
Thank you, KK.
Florence, would you like to come
I have the
down?
mic. Well, Florence needs to come up too. Can I also invite Florence and Jane to come up for this group photo as well?
Oh, great, yeah. Good morning again, how are you? Good morning.
Say B. Thank you. Can I ask the gentleman to be seated and Florence, 留返張凳喺度得㗎啦，係啦，得㗎啦嚇。阿 Florence 同埋阿李博士將會同我哋傾下。OK， 好。Thank you very much. Can I have a really big hand for Mr. Palazzi and Mr. Honeyman, please? 好，咁啊跟住落嚟咧，我哋每一年嘅社企民間高峰會咧，過去呢5年都有個傳統咧，就要傾下偈㗎。Jane 話，即係唔係大家聽完就算，因為點解要傾偈咧？因為要傾完要做嘢，咁啊，所以次次傾完咧，阿 Jane 就會開多個會，就喂我哋業界唔同代表要做啲嘢咯，一齊做啲嘢咯。咁啊10年啦，係嘛？咁啊，不如交俾阿 Jane 同埋阿 Florence 傾偈。咁如果大家聽唔懂廣東話嘅咧，如果你們聽不懂廣東話的話 ，if you don't understand Cantonese, we have the simultaneous interpretation zone over there. If I still see 20, 30 machines over there, so you can go over there because the discussion will be in Cantonese. All right. Without further ado, a really big hand for Florence and Jane, please.
Hello, Florence 啊，我哋眨下眼咧，合作咗10年喎。
哦，係啊，真係時光飛逝啊！
時光飛逝，我哋又老咗10年。OK， 我想請教下 Florence， 即係我哋不如都趁呢個機會，即係喺未來嘅生命，我哋繼續即係推動嘅時候，你可唔可以都總結下？你覺得呢10年有啲咩？你覺得係個印象好深刻㗎？
有幾方面嘅，就社企10年路咧。第一個方面咧，我覺得呢一個真係一個跨界別同行之路，有好多唔同嘅政策啦，同埋好多唔同嘅活動咧。其實我哋一齊咧都係同業界共同去構思、共同去推動，所以係非常感恩。 第二個方面呢，就係關於一啲價值嘅構建。呢10年裏面呢，我都見到一系列嘅價值咧係越嚟越深入民心。社企由當初得20%到嘅朋友係認識咧，依家係超過80%嘅市民咧，你講社企都知道喺邊度，係乜嘢嚟嘅。同埋裡面嗰份嘅價值就係例如今年嘅主題啦，兼善創效、利群。另外，亦都係關於點樣用營商嚟揚善。呢啲唔同嘅價值咧，一路係喺社會裏面咧，係去進一步去演繹、進一步去發酵、進一步去廣傳。呢個係第二個方面。第三個方面咧，我哋見到就係總體我哋社企界一齊共同成就嘅一份成績單。裡面就有我哋而家超過570家嘅社企啦，佢哋嘅多元性，佢哋越嚟越喺唔同嘅領域裏面嗰份嘅創新，其實我哋都見到有好多唔同嘅績效。咁喺呢方面咧，亦都係好感謝即係各位共同嘅推動。而第四個方面咧，就係我哋越嚟越更加清楚，其實未來嘅路向，我哋應該係點樣去行。當中咧就係包括咧，我哋希望響嘅量化嘅工作方面可以做得更加好，就係響個創效嗰方面點樣嚟去進一步量度我哋所創造嘅社會效益咧。咁呢個咧，我哋未來都會同業界咧係更加嘅緊密攜手，去帶動我哋下一個階段香港社企發展。
多謝你啊 Florence。其實我都即係而家其實台下都有好多我哋社企界大家一齊合咗10年嘅一啲嘅朋友同埋籌委會嘅成員喺度。其實我都真係好感恩呢，即係呢9年10年呢，大家一齊係能夠共同咧係推動咗一個變革嘅。我覺得係即係嗰個 change 咧嚇，呢個變革咧就好subtle嘅，即係好微妙嘅，唔係淨係話我哋即係有啲乜嘢嘅革命啊嚇，而係咧我哋好潛移默化咁咧推動咗喺社會唔同嘅界別咧，都係會係有一個喺嗰個價值觀嗰個轉變咧。我自己覺得我都好珍惜，同埋好高興見到呢樣嘢咧喺度發生緊。咁即係我自己有陣時都嘗試下成日講民商官學，究竟每一個界別轉變咗幾多咧？咁我諗譬如喺學界咧，我哋係好明顯見到，即係而家喺大學裏邊，除咗有啲 SE Challenge 呢啲嘅比賽嘅活動之外咧，就其實即係每一間大學佢哋都已經喺用唔同嘅方法咧，係滲入咗呢個社會創新同埋創業精神，特別係社會創業精神，即係話有創業亦都有價值觀，有即係社會效益。咁希望真係喺我哋個年青嘅一代喺度建造緊。譬如我琴日咧參加Alan 主持嗰個 forum 咧，嗰個大老闆咧係其中一個講者咧，都幾有趣啊！即係佢話咧，佢因為咧佢個公司咧係即係向住係個建築公司嚇，向住一個嘅社會價值同埋真係環保嘅方向去創新，而去回應一啲真係見到社會嘅需要咧。佢嘅同佢個仔咧嗰個關係好咗，咁即係話咧，原來即係兩代嘅人咧喺呢啲價值觀上邊係好明顯咧，傳統上係有好大距離。但係而家透過咗社會創新，如果係個爸爸媽媽佢哋嗰個嘅生意同埋佢個投資裏邊，去自己先做呢個調整咧，佢係得到個年青一代咧對佢好大嘅尊敬，對佢嘅尊重。咁我自己就覺得，即係如果我哋成個社會咧，我哋每一個界別，無論喺個 NGO，無論喺嗰個學界或者喺嗰個商界同埋政府嘅政策裏邊咧，我哋都能夠喺度推動呢個嘅價值上邊嘅轉變同埋嗰個融合咧。咁我哋就即係見到嗰個成個社會係真係回應緊我哋嘅社會問題，同埋改善緊我哋即係咁多咁嚴重嘅問題咧。就算係唔係能夠一步登天去解決晒咧，我自己都會覺得見到個進步咧，都係一個好重要嘅分別嚟嘅。
哦，非常同意啊！頭先你提到嘅 SE Challenge 咧，就係我哋一個喺學界裏面所舉辦嘅社會企業嘅商業計劃比賽。咁其實舉辦到今年咧，已經係有超過6000名嘅同學咧係參與過，其中咧有50個嘅獲獎嘅項目咧。 係我哋都係俾到資源咧，佢哋去繼續去營運。咁而佢哋到今天為止咧，係超過半數咧係繼續營運緊。可以講咧，我嘅其中一個體會咧，就係透過社會企業、社會創新，我哋有好多年青人嘅參與，而年青人嘅呢一份參與咧，正正好似頭先阿 Jane 所提到咧，就係帶動翻佢周邊，例如係屋企人啦，佢哋嘅其他嘅朋友咧，一齊投入到呢我哋社會企業總體嘅呢一個運動入面。所以阿 Jane 雖然話係冇起到革命，但其實都係靜靜地起緊一個革命。但係呢個係一個價值嘅革命，就係將社會企業咧係呢一個嘅營運嘅模式喺社會裏面咧引起更加多人嘅注意，同時喺商界裏面或者社福界或者係民間裏面係將佢哋自己自身嘅營運模式咧係漸漸咁樣咧加入更多嘅社會元素，同時咧係共同去為社會咧係去創效創利嘅。
係啦，咁同埋咧就頭先咧，我哋好高興啊 KK 係主持嗰個 B Corp 嗰個部分啦，因為實際上咧點解我哋今次社企民間高峰會都特別係即係引入呢一個嘅新主題咧？咁其中一個原因咧，都係我哋做咗呢10年嘅社企嘅呢個嘅推動，社會創新嘅推動咧，其實我哋發覺喺商界其中一個最難嘅一個嘅部分。咁個原因之一咧就係即係我哋啲商界嘅朋友好多時咧就誤解咗咧，講社會創新同埋社會企業咧，就係 NGO 嘅事，係政府嘅事，係扶貧嘅事，就唔係佢哋商界嘅責任。即係呢啲咧就同佢哋冇乜關係嘅。我哋做 CSR， 我哋都做得好好啦咁樣。咁但係我諗，即係今日我哋聽到一個新嘅課題咧，就係呢個 B Corp 咧，就係由商界去推動。商界咧就係所以你所講嘅營商揚善咧。呢個嘅咁樣嘅其實係孟子喺2000幾年前我哋中國人一個好重要嘅思維嚟嘅。咁如果我哋能夠將呢個即係中國嘅文化呢個孟子孔孟嘅呢一個嘅傳統幾千年嚟嘅價值觀，將佢喺今日21世紀裏邊結合我哋歐美嘅呢一個嘅運動咧，我自己就覺得好樂見其成啊！唔知阿 Florence 你會唔會覺得呢個可能係我哋一個運動嘅一個新開始咧？
絕對係啦。其實咧，剛才我同阿 Jane 響下面聽到兩位講者同埋阿 KK 喺度分享緊 B Corp 嘅時候咧，我哋一路咧都喺度諗緊，我哋下一步可以為到社會企業嘅發展以及係香港整個營商揚善、關愛文化嘅推動可以做啲乜嘢咧？咁其中 B Corp 我理解到咧，而家中文嘅翻譯咧就係以一個共益企業呢一個咁樣嘅方向咧嚟取材，而共益咧正正亦都係我哋自己東方嘅文化裏面咧一個非常重要嘅一個元素。咁我哋好期待呢，就係將東方同埋西方兩方面去結合，呢個亦都係香港咧一直以嚟咧我哋嘅核心嘅一個價值。咁睇下我哋點樣樣咧可以係更好咁樣咧係去推動我哋社會企業同埋社會創新嘅運動。而其中一樣嘢，我覺得我哋可以做嘅，為到係明年嘅Summit係去做準備呢，就係響未來嘅10個月度啦，我哋係多啲同我哋嘅商界係去溝通，去做 engagement， 包括可能我哋要自己設立目標，例如同幾多千間嘅商界嘅企業係去推廣我哋 B Corp 共益企業嗰個理念。咁希望當中呢，我哋可以發掘到其中頭先 KK 提到過嘅有5到10間，我哋係重點係希望可以呢，佢響往後成為香港重要嘅 B Corp 嘅。
咁最後一點咧，我知道 Vincent 企喺度咧，佢想即係可能又要俾時間我啦。咁咧不過我想最後都即係都同阿 Florence 你討論最後一點。我自己覺得咧啲即係呢9年嘅社企民間高峰會即係嘅工作咧，我其中一個我覺得我好珍惜嘅就除咗係成個社企界嘅我哋嘅朋友同埋啲平台大家一齊合作參與咧，就係同政府嘅合作。我哋咧其實即係琴日特別啦，我哋嗰個嘅幾個國家嘅代表嘅經驗分享咧，我哋睇到咧即係有啲咧就係好市場主導嘅，或者係呢一個嘅民間主導嘅，有啲咧就係政府個主導係好強嘅。但係喺香港咧，我自己就覺得咧呢個官民合作咧係都幾特別嘅。點解咧？就因為如果有啲海外嚟嘅朋友未必好認識咧。其實我哋而家香港喺度經歷緊一個即係官民對抗嘅一個嘅經常出現嘅一個嘅情況啦嚇。咁但係點解喺社企界嗰度又會竟然係有一個好似好相反嘅一種嘅氣氛咁樣咧？ 咁我覺得唔係因為我哋社企界嘅呢班嘅領袖同埋呢班朋友咧係特別親政府嚇。其實我諗我哋都大家都知咧，我哋都有啲黃色嘅嘅籌委會成員嘅，
乜色
好
都有嘅，
多乜色都有嘅，
乜色都有，
即係紅黃藍白紫乜都齊嘅，即係一個 spectrum 嘅。但係咧，我覺得更加重要咧係我哋睇到咧係政府好尊重我哋呢一班領袖咧，真係每一年，我記得我喺前幾日嘅開幕禮我都講過咧，我哋咁多年嚟政府除咗喺個政策上推出嚟到去推動同埋協助社企嘅發展咧，係冇佢哋自己嘅 agenda， 冇一個政治嘅 agenda 嘅。我覺得咧，即係冇藍色定黃色嘅呢一個咧，我覺得係好重要。但係咧，民間咧，我哋亦都冇將任何即係政治嘅對抗或者係親建制又好乜都嚟到去引入去成為我哋個高峰會裏邊嘅一個嘅運作嘅思維咧。呢一個我都唔知係咪等於我哋啲中國人呢，即係香港人呢，就傳統上呢，就去政治化嚇，即係我哋唔談政治，但係我哋呢係談一個好實際嘅嗰個嘅內容呢，就同可能歐洲呢係講民主化呢嚟到去即係走入去呢一個嘅社企界裏邊嘅一個嘅啱先，我覺得係一個結合點嚟嘅喎。點解咁講呢？就係因為我琴日聽到喺歐洲所講嘅 social democracy 咧，其實一個好重要嘅咧就係點樣 engage 一啲嘅 stakeholders。而我哋社企界咧喺香港咧，我哋雖然唔講政治，但係咧我哋係用一個真正嘅民主嘅方法咧，就點樣去 engage 我哋啲 stakeholders 咧？呢個我自己就覺得我見到最開心同埋最珍惜嘅 Florence。
我亦都非常珍惜一路同業界嗰個攜手同行。其實在我嚟講呢，我覺得不論任何嘅顏色，我哋本着嘅都係一份人民嘅關懷，我哋本着嘅都係希望為社會創造更加多嘅美事好事。咁而呢一個精神呢，我係喺業界裏面呢係充分感受到嘅，所以係好希望喺未來我哋繼續呢係將香港嘅社企帶領到一個新嘅台階，而喺當中呢係好需要大家共同去參與，而喺參與嘅過程之中亦都希望我哋可以同多啲我哋唔同國家嘅朋友更多嘅合作，更多嘅取經，咁讓到我哋香港嘅社企呢，不單為我哋香港嘅社會發光發亮，亦都可以呢為到我哋其他嘅周邊嘅鄰居呢係共同去服務。目的就係創造一個更加大同、更加係美善嘅一個大社會。
OK， 咁不如交翻俾 Vincent。
多謝 Florence 同埋阿李靜怡博士，唔該許耀輝副局長，請就座先。好，咁跟住落嚟咧，我哋有一個閉幕式嘅。咁就閉幕式嘅開始之前呢，我哋都有少少嘅準備。咁我就想請幾位嘉賓呢，就問下佢哋有咩感想。咁啊，第一咧就係其實今年嘅社企民間高峰會，亦都係暨第4屆嘅亞洲社企國際會議啦。The Social Enterprise Summit is also host together with the 4th International Conference on Social Enterprise in Asia. I would like to ask Dr. Katie Chen to come up and say a few words or have a very quick talk. Hi, Katie. Is that your notes or is that your speech?
No. Well, thank you.
你講廣東話都得㗎喎，係乜話乜色都得㗎。我哋呢度。
Maybe I better speak in English because I want to address to all the participants here. On behalf of the 4th ICR Organizing Committee, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers for the keynote panel session and also all the panel sessions. In fact, they come from all parts of the world, not just from Asia. This year, I think, this is a joint event between ICR and also the SES Summit. And as mentioned by Professor Petrov yesterday, he mentioned about the idea of co-production. And in fact, it's a co-production between the two organizing platforms. So I think in order to further elaborate his concept, I will further develop the 3C. In fact, before the conference, we connect, okay? And then within this conference, we communicate. And I think after this conference, we collaborate. So we from connect, communicate, and collaborate. And that's what our dreams are. Lastly, I would thank once again to Florence, the Home Affairs Bureau, the Efficiency Unit, Jane, and also the Summit Organizing Committee, and also PolyU and all our staff and also students. Actually, we have worked hard, not just for these few days, and in fact for the whole year. Let me thanks again for the year. Thank you.
Thank you, KT. Thank you. Two housekeeping issues. First, I've been saying this many times. Kindly fill in the questionnaire. Florence has already said that she is looking forward to the next Social Enterprise Summit. 要做嘢㗎啦，我哋副局長話出年社企民間高峰會有咩展望，咁所以你哋嘅意見都好重要嘅。Please fill in the questionnaire. It will be immensely useful for our planning of the 2017 Social Enterprise Summit. Also, can I invite you to turn to page 58 and 59 of the program book? We will be organizing 3 social enterprise visits today. Oh, thank you. And the co-creation route will be very interesting. We will go to the Good Lab, co-creation space in Hong Kong, and also the Hong Kong Social Ventures Hong Kong and Sonova Studio new office, who will be sharing with you a lot of interesting projects they are working on. They are also moved to an area where it's very close to the Sham Shui Po community, which all of you might find interesting. 另外嗰個古蹟路線 Heritage Route 咧就去饒宗頤文化館嘅銀杏館嘅，咁啊有部分香港人都知咧，呢一個 Heritage Site 嘅呢間銀杏館咧，仲有幾日咧就會去第二度噶啦，即係會搬去第二度，咁所以大家同佢當係一個歡送會farewell party 亦都得。咁啊，琴晚KT 已經請咗好多學者去嗰度食飯係嘛？都 OK 係嘛？好，咁咧就亦都會去到 Good Point 呢個 flower market 嘅。The flower market is also a heritage site. It has been renovated and redesigned by the HKCSS. If you would like to join, please go to the entrance no later than 1:45 today. PM, of course. So please join us for the essay visits. Without further ado, our closing ceremony will now begin. Behind me is a matchbox. 我身後邊咧就係一個火柴盒嚟嘅，一個巨型嘅火柴盒。咁我哋社企民間高峰會嗰個標誌咧，其實唔止係一朵花，而係4個火花 ，4 sparks。咁呢4個火花分別代表乜嘢咧？就係我成日講嘅官商民學。咁其實呢個詞彙咧都係由Jane、Florence 佢哋一齊諗出嚟嘅。個跨界別一定要係4把火一齊嘅。咁我哋咧就不如順次序咁官商民學咁嗌出嚟啊！官咧，我哋就先請民政事務局副局長許曉輝Florence 先上台。等陣先。好，咁然之後咧，商界咧，我哋今年咧就揾到香港社會創業論壇主席張一倫先生咧，即係作為我哋商界嘅代表，咁加入咗我哋商界中流砥柱啊！咁當然。其實民咧都係由一個即係商界嘅領袖去幫我哋處理嘅。咁我哋社企民間高峰會咧，大概喺3年前咧就開始咗呢一個社區論壇啊。咁我哋社區論壇嘅籌備委員會召集人咧就係Rebecca。咁請Rebecca 都上台。好。Thank you, Rebecca, for being the convener of the Community Forum. It has been the 3rd year, and we have a very successful Community Forum. 咁跟住學咧就梗係 KT 啦。第4屆亞洲社企國際會議籌委會主席陳錦棠博士。官商民學企埋一齊咧，喺社企民間高峰會咧，就當然係要多得籌委會嘅領導啦。咁再次邀請我哋嘅籌委會主席 Dr. Jane Lee， 社企民間高峰會籌委會主席李正儀博士。或者Jane 企喺Florence 同Alan 中間啦，好唔好啊？好啦，好，咁咧就我哋咧就預備咗一個小道具嘅，麻煩我哋幾位同事拎出嚟。頭先話咩色都有㗎係嘛？黃色、藍色、綠色、啡色，咁咧就我哋預備咗啲巨型火柴，係啦，可以唔係搏人㗎，唔係搏人嘅。咁呢度咧就印住社企民間高峰會啦，另外一邊就印住香港慈善及社企周。咁咧我哋諗住。冇火嘅，會展唔俾我哋撻火，咁但係撻着心中嘅火啦。影張相先，攝影師滿唔滿意啊？ 滿意係嘛？好嗱，咁我哋一陣間咧就唔使兩隻手嘅，但係你影完相先啦。我諗住我有個建議啊 ，KT 我教你點撻火柴啊，火柴慢撻唔得嘅，要快撻嘅。咁咧你就當，咁樣飛出去就得㗎啦。你當打棒球咁得㗎啦，或者low swing 啦，我哋當影張相先係嘛？攝影師，拜託你咯。好啦，攝影師話影多10張相先，10、9、8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1。由週末到週日，2016年9月24號至25號嘅社企民間高峰會2016暨第4屆國際社企會議。咁我哋咧就嚟到尾聲啦，非常之多謝大家喺星期日嘅早上陪我哋嚟到呢度。咁我哋不如倒數啦，好嘛？出年係第10年，第10屆，數到10啦，好嘛？1，冇人數嘅喂，1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、9、10。Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us for today. The Social Enterprise Summit will now be closed. We will see you next year. We are delightful to have all the organizing committee's members here today. Can I invite all of them to join us on stage? We do not only start the fire, but we also have a large flame by more people to collaborate. 唔好走住，我哋仲有一個表演節目嘅，影完張團體相先。我哋嘅社企民間高峰會主題曲由鍾氏兄弟演唱嘅，不如請埋鍾氏兄弟上嚟影相啦，好唔好啊？ The Jones Brothers, who will be singing for us the theme song for the Social Enterprise Summit. 可以攞住啲火柴影，揾一個人攞住先啦。嗱，火柴係象徵住唔止撻火啊，阿 Florence 同阿 Jane 薪火相傳啊，係啊，薪火相傳，越燒越旺啊要。KK 啦喂 ，Can I also invite Mr. Palazzi and Mr. Honeyman to join us for the group photo? Gloria 啦 ，Dr. Pascal Griffin-Treason, our KK 啊，我哋個台灣朋友叫啊 B Corp 嘅朋友 Corey is also our speakers. 關教授，一起來吧。Professor Inamura。Professor Kuhn， 我有冇漏咗咩人啊 ？KK， KT、KK、Alan， 是但，你請啊，你請。Professor Zhou。Well, basically all the speakers, please. Marina 啦，影相啦。多謝你啊 ！Did I miss anyone? KT? 你攞住啦，不如。Hello。Say cheese！ 1、2、3，攝影師嚟啦！2、3、4、10張，5、6、7、8、9。好啦，我哋出年第10屆，兩隻手一齊拜拜啦，好嘛？好，第10屆影多張相。仲有Professor Pastov，why are you hiding? We have to take 10 more photos now. All right. Thank you very much. Without further ado, let our theme song begins. Can I have a really big hand for the Jones Brothers? 鍾氏兄弟，由我雙手開始，兩隻手加埋10隻手指，靠你哋10隻手指啦嚇。好啦，我哋有請鍾氏兄弟，亦都請咁多位嘉賓返回就座啦，我哋開始音樂啦。講幾句好嗎？
Okay, thank you very much. This is a theme song for the Social Enterprise Summit. It's called With Our Own Two Hands. It's in Cantonese, and it's about how we can make changes. It's a collective kind of effort, and if everybody is passionate about it, we can make small changes as a start, and then it's a cumulative process. And then the world can change with our own very little efforts added together. So this song is dedicated to all of you. Thank you.
鍾氏兄弟，由我雙手開始。
在世頭多苦困，多紛爭，饑荒與地震，再不停地折磨。這世間滿痛楚，究竟我為何在奔波？匆匆歲月過，賺得到有幾多？每日輪住播的新聞，充滿着血腥跟怨恨，難道沒法去改變這一生？燃亮這盼望，用實力去幹，前面仲有波折與跌宕，願我可向着標杆，拋開一切困難沮喪，為更好境況，我雙手與力氣一起去創。遙望天際，星空裏沒法睡，天災與浩劫，痛苦裏在折騰，爭鬥不斷發生，小島裏為生計多憂心，多少個夢想彷彿已進花塵，發現人是有一雙手可竭力去彌補缺陷，如若可奉獻，地球定會變，燃亮這盼望，用實力去幹，前面仲有波折與跌宕，願我可向着標杆，拋開一切困難沮喪，為更好境況，願我雙手與力氣一起去創。這雙手粉碎憂和愁，淚雨後現曙光，實踐夢想使命，擁抱希望，化做能源，歌聲向四方，燃亮這盼望，用實力去幹，全面中有波折與跌宕，願我可向着標 全憑雙手與力氣，一起去闖，從攜手跨過路障，一起去過，一起去闖，一起去闖，一起去闖。With our own two hands, we can make a change. With our own two hands, it won't be the same. Oh.
Wow！ 中士兄弟
Thank you。
，thank you， 獻花我獻花，我哋一齊影張相。阿 J 上唔上埋嚟啊 ？Florence 上唔上埋嚟啊？上埋嚟啦！我哋多謝晒大家，今日嘅社企民間高峰會全部程序已經正式結束㗎啦。咁啊，好多謝中士兄弟同我哋唱咗咁多歌。咁啊，年輕人靠你哋㗎咯喎嚇，靠你哋㗎啦。
大家咁話，大家咁話。
好，再影下相先。Thank you. Welcome to the Social Enterprise Summit again. We really appreciate if you can fill out our questionnaires. And if you want to join our SC visits, we have the catering routes, visiting some of the best run restaurants, but social enterprises in Hong Kong. We have the heritage routes. Some social enterprises is now be housed in some of the heritage sites. And also the co-creation routes will be visiting some joint ventures as well as a co-creation space in Hong Kong. If you want to join, it's 1:45 downstairs at the front gate. 1點45分，咁我哋就歡迎大家嚟到我哋嘅社企嘅即係參觀。另外咧，希望大家能夠填翻嗰個問卷。咁我哋今日亦都會由而家一路到5點鐘咧，會喺出邊有行企社企嘉年華嘅。The SC Carnival will go on outside all the way till 5 p.m. today, and there will be various performance groups to perform on stage in an hour or so. So see you next year. Thank you very much for joining the Social Enterprise Summit. Thank you. Bye.